I was so poor one time that I used to walk 3 miles round trip to the Mexican market to dig in the trash can. That's right. No lie. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I was going through a really bad divorce at that time. And he stole my cars and that were in my name that I paid for, and shopped and running back out on a car lot. It was a mess. And he shut the power off on the house I paid for. He had a lot of connects in the town. You know, the South is real strong sometimes and actually pungent. But anyway, so I was broke worse than a bad joke. And I got tired of being cooped up in the house. I had prepaid internet. I had a phone that barely worked because the signal was so bad. Couldn't get internet out there at all, as it was on the state line, Florida, Alabama, and it was kind of a countrified area. And couldn't even get cable TV out there, actually. And so I would skate sometimes I'd walk, but usually I would walk. And sometimes it'd be really cold, sometimes it'd be raining straight through, and I had to do what I had to do. So I would go walk to that market 1.5 miles and 1.5 miles back to the house, and dig in the little trash can by the front door and get used lottery tickets out of there, the scratch-offs, and I would take them down to the park or the church and sit there and scratch some of them off because it was close to the store, so I could walk back to get the cash so that I could get some food to eat, or be able to pay a utility bill, that kind of thing. I had a well, so I had well water, so I didn't need anything but electric to power that. But it was an all electric house, so I could prepay on my electric. They had started this new thing where you could deposit to the electric, and then use so much a day, and I would shut all the breakers down. Especially the water heater. The electric water heater draws a lot of current, and I couldn't afford to put a timer on it, and I really didn't want to because I was scared he was going to hijack the house, which he did. And I paid for it, and it was also in the divorce, and we had 8 properties, and this was my retail shop actually, but I also could live in it. And so anyway, a few of those times I really did outrageously good. I'd hit 100 a couple times. I've hit 20s and 50s and 10s lots of times on used cards. And so the one day I had gone down there and I had just, like, I think it was $20 or $30 to my name total. And I had the feeling, I just had this feeling, and I said, man, I really don't need to spend anything. I took $5 and I bought a $5 ticket that I don't even like, because the odds were real good on it. You can look on the computer for Florida Lottery and you can see how many payoffs are left on a card and how many big payoffs are left on a card to give you a better average. It's all in the numbers. And I'm not a really huge fan of scratch-offs, but I do know how to play them. I'd much rather go to a casino. But, you know, you don't ever play on scared money. You have to be really, really careful with that. It's like a voodoo hex. If you play on scared money or gamble on scared money, you've got to consider it lost before you start it. So I went down there and made a small purchase of a couple things to eat. And they had a sandwich special there where you got a soda and a little sandwich and all that for a few bucks. I took that $5, that last $5, and I bought this $5 ticket I didn't even like. And I went and I scratched it, and it was going crazy. It had 100. Well, it had $5,000. $5,000 on a $5 ticket. So I got enough signal, and I called Hawk, and I said, look, I need a ride to Tallahassee. And he said, well, you know, I don't have a lot of gas, and I wasn't really planning to travel that far. I said, I really got to go today. And I said, before anything happens to me with this crazy ex-husband of mine who's threatened to kill me and everything else, you never know what tomorrow brings. I wouldn't even feel safe sleeping with it under my pillow, okay? So I said, look, you'll never believe this, but I just hit $5K on a $5 card, and it's the last $5 I had to spend. And he says, you did what? And I said, yeah, you just would never believe it, but look, how long will it take you to be here? And he says, I'm on my way. I said, all right. So then I thought, well, I have to go pick up my paycheck in Tallahassee. I think I will call my daughter's school and tell them that I need to go ahead and pick her up early because I have to go out of town to pick up my paycheck. And I didn't know if I would be back in time. So I called her school and I told them, and they said, sure, it's no problem. It's not a problem because it's just part day that you're checking her out. And I said, okay. So Hawk showed up laughing. He did not believe me. He thought it was a joke because I told him, I said, look, I will pay your gas to and from. Don't worry about that. And so he looks at the card and he says, holy hell. And I said, yeah. I said, let's go down and get Boo, because I'm going to take her out of school because, you know, I might get real busy. So we went down to the school, took just minutes to get her out, and we hustled out to the car, and Babe was like, she was just little. I think she was like 6 or 7. And she says, what's wrong? And I said, well, we have to go. And she says, why? And I said, because I got to go pick up my paycheck in Tallahassee. She says, what? And I hand her this card, and she's looking at it. She goes, Mommy, that's a lot of money. And I said, yeah, like $5K. And she was like, woo. I said, this will set us up right. And it will take care of so many things. Total blessing. And so we hightailed it down to Tallahassee. Called the Tallahassee office trying to find it. So we drove around. Finally, you know, we had an idea where it was at. And then the lady says, we're getting ready to close. I said, oh, no, don't do that. And she's like, well, we close at 4 or something like that. And I said, well, it's not 4 yet. And she said, Tallahassee time is different. I went, oh, no. And I said, look, you got to keep this place open because I've got to pick up this money. And she says, well, okay. And I said, you have no clue how bad I need it. And so they waited for me, and we were about 17 minutes late. And I mean, when we got in the parking lot of this giant building in Tallahassee, I mean, it almost looks like a shopping mall, this place is so big. And so I ran to the door. They come and locked the door. And I was peeing my pants, hoping to God they wouldn't tell me no, after they'd already told me it was okay. And the lady was really nice. It was her and one other person there in the office. And I said, so how do I do this? Do I get cash, check? How do you do it? She said, well, we give you a check. I said, oh, okay. And then they also, what was interesting was they sold lottery tickets at the lottery place. But I don't know, do you want to buy a lottery ticket at a lottery place? What do you think the chances of it winning are? Like, do you think there's a lot of people hanging out just buying tickets there and scratching them outside and then going and cashing them? I'm thinking the probability is like no. So I didn't want to buy any tickets there. And they didn't give me cash. But they couldn't give me cash because the amount was too high. So they only pay up to a certain amount in cash. The rest comes in a check. And it was a scratch off, so it's a full pay. It wasn't one of those, humongous lottery ticket winnings where, they get a cut if you cash out or whatever. But anyway, so I had to sign these papers and with my social security, my driver's license, all this stuff, because I wasn't a resident of Florida, so I had, different license, different state license. And so, and usually they can't charge taxes if you're out of state, and if they do, you get a receipt, just like at the casinos, where you can file at the end of the year and get the interest, that extra charge that they took off of the taxes for that state. You can file and get those taxes back for that state if you don't live in it. And I learned that when I used to hit casinos really a lot. It put me through college for engineering. But anyway, and she says, well, we have to take your picture. I went, huh? She says, yeah, I had it, the prize board, and then, the ticket and the check, and they wanted to take this picture. And I said, well, can anybody else be in the picture? And they said, well, sure. And so got my daughter and Hawk and me, and we stood there against the wall, and I took the cutest picture. And I had a copy of it. They gave me a little Xerox copy of it. It was so cute. I don't know if I still have that or not. But it was in one of the storages. It might be the ones they stole. But anyway, it was so cool. We were like, yeah, thumbs up, right on. And so we left, and when we got ready to leave, I told her, I said, okay, now how do I cash this? Do I have to wait for a hold or something like that? Because I don't have a bank account. And she said, well, you could go to our bank. This is the one that cashes them, and it's such and such bank, but you better hurry. And I was like, oh no, here we go again. Because we really need to get this cash because I want to pay him for his gas, So we find the bank, but it's one of those, hit and run Chinese fire drill gigs. And I said, look, why don't you drive around the block and I'll run in, because there's no parking and we only have a couple minutes time, like 3 minutes, and I don't even know if they're gonna let me be a customer this close to the clock, you know. Because I asked a lot of people they could call over there and tell them I was on my way. I was hoping that I would still get to cash that check. So, anyway, I love how you tailgate me. You know the speed limit's 35. I jumped out, and he just kept driving around the block while I was in there, and I ended up being in there a little overtime. But they had let me in the door, but it takes a lot of time because they have to call the lottery office to make sure that the check is real. That's the next thing. And then they have to verify it with their with the bank and all this other stuff, and verify who I am, and then try to sell me a bank account and all that, and I don't want all that. And so I finally got it cashed. $5K in my hand, Jack, on a $5 ticket that I needed so bad. So I turned around and ran out to the corner. Now I'm scared somebody's gonna rob me right at the corner of the bank on this road with all these cars going by constantly. And you know, it was a big city over there in Tallahassee. And so here he comes around the corner. And he says, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I need to go to pawn shop." So the first thing we did, he knew the area a little bit, so he knew the pawn shop. So we went over to a couple really nice pawn shops, and I looked at a couple things, but they were junk or overpriced. Didn't see anything I really had to have. So we left there. I think he bought one thing he liked. And so we left there, and then he said he had to go to Walmart to get dog food. And I said, okay, we'll go to Walmart. So we went to Walmart. I bought a ring there, which I ended up taking back later. I wasn't happy with it. He had got a grocery cart, and he's like doing this horrendous shopping, right? Now, I had already paid him $100 for gas. I handed that to him right off the top. Here's $100 for gas. He said, "I don't need that much." I said, "Well, I appreciate your time. I mean, you could have been doing something else, and I called you on the spot, okay?" And so I said, "Here's $100. I gave him that right as soon as I got in the car with that money. So he's in Walmart, and he's like taking his time shopping, and my daughter's going, "Oh my gosh." We're looking around to see if there's anything we need or want. I think we got a couple things. I think I got her like an outfit and some shoes or something. And then he had a grocery cart full of stuff. He had like giant bags of dog food, big bag of cat food, all this stuff. Because he was so happy he got that $100. So when we were going through the checkout, I went first and then stood there while he was checking out. And he had about I think it was like $160 worth of stuff. And I reached out and paid for it. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going to pay for your groceries." You know, it's like a tip. And he's like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "You don't have to do that." I said, "Well, I'm going to." And I said, "You know, you have to appreciate folks, you know. It's a tip." So I paid for that. Loaded that in there, in the cart. So then it's like, well, everybody's hungry. I said, okay, so why don't we just go get something to eat? And we were driving by, so let's go to this Mexican restaurant. So we went to the Mexican restaurant. And that was out in Chipley, around Chipley. Really good Mexican restaurant. And really reasonable. And so we went in there to go eat, and I paid for all that. And he had those, I forget what it is. There's one thing he loves to order at a Mexican restaurant all the time, and it's those big peppers that they do this thing where they slice them up and put something in. I think it's poblano pepper or something. And then they fry it in batter or some darn thing, and he just thinks that's the coolest. So he had ordered that and a couple beverages, and then me and Boop got carnitas and some other stuff, and it was really cool. Then we tipped them real good. They were pretty good at waiting on us. They gave us some great to-go stuff with our drinks. Gave us giant drinks to go and everything, like fresh drinks. And so I tipped them real good. And then, you know, we rode on back. We checked a couple pawn shops in town. Didn't really find anything wonderful. And we had the greatest time. We really did. And I'm going to tell you, I really got this U-Haul open over here. I'm going to tell you, it was just the most amazing time. And you never know what life has to bring. And when you get to rock bottom, I'm going to tell you there's always a way out, and that will be up. Now, if you're a wuss and you bail, like you off yourself, I got no faith in you, man. But you got to make an effort, and you have to try in life. That's what it's all about. And just remember, when you hit rock bottom, the only way out is up. Can't get any worse than that. So, whatever you do, keep smiling. Don't let anybody break your stride. Make a new friend every day. Be kind to a stranger. Love everybody. And too much of a good thing is wonderful. And you know we'll take a lot of that. Talk to you later. You have an excellent, happy, blessed day.